G'day guys, I had a question come through the other day wanting me to explain the relationship between cardiac output, stroke volume and heart rate in a trained versus an untrained individual at both submaximal exercise and maximal exercise. So we all know that cardiac output, which is Q, equals stroke volume times by heart rate. When we have, let's start with submax. If we go a submax workload, then we have, let's have our untrained individual here, UT, and trained individual here. So at a submax workload, our cardiac output should be the same. We're gonna need the same oxygen requirement, same blood circulation. So let's say that our cardiac output, so our Q, is 2,000 mils or 2 litres in both situations. The difference between trained and untrained is the untrained will have a lower stroke volume. They haven't got the increased left ventricle volume left as a chronic adaptation. So they might have a stroke volume of 15 mils per beat versus a trained might have a stroke volume of 20 mils. So now it's just simple maths, right? So if we've got the untrained at 2,000 mils and they can only do 15 mils per beat, then their heart rate's going to be higher, significantly higher, 133 beats, compared to the trained individual, 2,000 divided by, say, 20, because they got a higher stroke volume, 100 beats. All right. So all we need to say is that at a submaximal workload, the untrained athlete has a higher heart rate because they have a lower stroke volume, or vice versa. At submax workload, the trained athlete has a lower heart rate because they have a higher stroke volume, but they have the same cardiac output. Then when we get to the maximal intensity, then we know that at max, our max heart rate should be about the same. So let's say it's a 20-year-old, 220 minus your age, and we've got a heart rate for both the untrained here and the trained here at 200 beats. Now, the difference here is, so same max heart rate, but we're still going to have different stroke volumes. So let's say that the untrained individual will roll with the 15 mils per beat, and will roll with the 20 mils for the trained. So the difference here is the maximal cardiac output. So let's just do the math. 200 times by 20 means that the cardiac output of the trained person is going to be 4,000 or 4 litres versus 15 times by 200 is only 3,000. So what we want to say here is that at maximal workloads, the trained athlete has a higher maximal cardiac output because they have a higher stroke volume with the same maximum heart rate. So the relationship is exactly what you can see on the screen there. At submax, they'll have the same cardiac output because it's a submax workload, but because the trained individual has a higher stroke volume, they're going to have a lower heart rate compared to the untrained individual. But then at maximal intensities, when everything's the same, we've both reached our max heart rate, untrained or untrained, because the trained individual has a higher stroke volume, times that by 200, they're going to have a higher maximal cardiac output compared to the untrained individual, which is going to be obviously very beneficial to performance because we get more blood circulation, therefore more oxygen circulation, more energy coming from the aerobic energy system, and therefore less coming from the anaerobic glycolysis system.